Jarrett, what has this week been like for you, having some time off before the playoffs?
It's been excellent. One, just those 2 days off, just completely off, just to relax from the whole season, and then just having a full week home. That's just unheard of.
Kenny mentioned that earlier in his coaching career, he would kind of turn things up and overcoach at this time of year. What was he like back then?
I don't really remember. It was all just a flash, trying to be in my first playoff series, just trying to learn everything that he was teaching. But knowing how Kenny was when he was a coach in Brooklyn, it was definitely what he said it was.
Before the season started, Donovan talked about building habits throughout a regular season that you can apply in the postseason.
Right.
What were those things this year that you think that you guys can take to the playoffs this year?
Communication for sure. I think that's going to be one huge thing that we've been working on all season to try to perfect, especially in the playoffs. That's what it's all about, communication during the moment, and like, let's say a possession just happened, to talk about it immediately.
How much do you think, I know that you were injured part of last year, but those experiences that you guys have in 2 playoff series, how will that benefit you guys?
I think every experience is something to learn from, whether it's good or bad. You take something away from it and just try to grow as a person.
When you talk about Evan's aggressiveness, and you've seen it firsthand how he's grown this year, when it comes to being on the floor with him, what does it look like when that's at his peak?
It just goes easy for him. You know, he's dishing out assists, taking the ball up the court off of rebounds, hitting threes. He literally does it all on the court, offense and defense, and it just feels like we're unbeatable.
And Darius has had an all-star season again, got back to form and what he's wanted to do this year. But what version of Darius Garland do you guys need in the playoffs to be able to have the same level of success?
Right. One that goes out there and just is loose with it. You know, I mean, obviously you don't want to just go out there and say whatever, but one shoulders it back, confident in himself, understands that he can take over the game at any moment.
You mentioned communication, but all year you guys have been talking about the chemistry, camaraderie, and how important that is.
Right.
Come playoffs, is it communication? Is that the biggest thing? Is communication that benefits from that, or what are you looking forward to showing off in the playoffs with that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, communication is something that we're going to work on for the rest of our careers, but the camaraderie is going to be something big. You know, it's one of those things where you don't want people to take things to heart, and I feel like if we weren't as close as we are as a team, difficult things to say to each other wouldn't go as well.
You've experienced it before, but how much are you looking forward to the energy that the fans are going to bring in that home court advantage?
It's going to be so fun. The fans bring energy every single playoff game, it doesn't matter what time of night it is, what day, they're going to be there cheering their heads off.
Especially with it being so loud, Kenny has emphasized you and Evan have to be louder, vocal.
Right.
How important is that going to be in taking that to the next step for you guys?
It's going to be huge. I mean, we're already working on it in practice. We have the loudspeaker playing arena noise during practice, and it's just teaching us to speak louder, yell louder, make sure that our guards hear us.
Hey, Jerry, with all the growth that Evan has shown on the offensive end this year, what's your confidence level that you can carry that over to the playoffs and be that guy for you in the playoffs?
Right, I'm sure he can do it. He ended last playoffs on a high note, you know, figuring out himself, figuring out how to dominate games. And every single game this year, there's been carryover from the last just to improve as a player. And I truly believe it's going to happen in the playoffs as well.
What kind of challenge is it going through up until this point, not knowing who you play yet?
I don't know. I haven't really been watching. I think just the biggest challenge with that, just looking at the coaches and everything, is just the lack of days of preparation. You know, some people, like the 4th and 5th seed, they've been able to know who they're going to play for the whole week. So you can watch hours and hours of film, days on days. But for us, we only get a limited amount of time to prepare for games like this.
To the Evan point, Kenny was saying that part of the reason that maybe sometimes Evan has a neutral approach is that he's playing with Darius and Donovan. They're older than him, maybe more established in the league. How do you see him manage that dynamic this year?
It's one of those things where you sacrifice for each other, and you know, sometimes it's Darius' night, sometimes it's Donovan's night, and sometimes it's Evan's night. And that's going to come with experience, knowing that Evan understands he can take over the game, and it can be his night every single night.
Kenny's really emphasized the part of possessions and winning that possession game.
Right.
Defensive rebounding was obviously something you guys slipped at post All-Star break. How do you get back to what you guys were doing before, and what's the key to just securing those things?
Right. One of my favorite Tristan's quotes is just go and get it. You know, it sounds simple. You know, it's just one of those energy things that you have to bring every single time. Go hit your man first. Go be in the right position. Just go get the ball at the end of the day.
Jarrett, Mark Carroll was your vet back in New York, and
Right.
now he's your coach. How has the relationship between you two, and how has it kind of helped you take your game to the next level?
Yeah, we have that old connection, that player-to-player bond, and now that he's in the coaching role, it is kind of different to see him in that light. But it just makes conversations easier to have. He's able to direct me on the court to make sure I'm in the right position. He understands what it's like to be a player, to play 82 games like that. So he has a step ahead of coaches that haven't been in our position per se.
When you give the Tristan quote about rebounding, it sounds simple.
Right.
So when you guys struggle to rebound, why do you think that is?
We didn't want it as bad. You know, I truly think it's one of those. We knew that on the offensive end we can get whatever we want, right? And on the defensive end, we just had a lack of energy to go get the ball.
I know there's more to accomplish, but did you have a couple minutes, the 2 days off to savor playing all 82 and leading the league at field goals?
Yeah, I had a little bit to savor, you know. I'm not somebody big to celebrate, you know, but just sat down, be like, yeah, I did that. My dad called me, congratulated. A bunch of people called me, congratulated me, and I just had a good moment.
Jarrett, what did you do with your days off? You say you do a lot of things away from basketball. What were those things?
I toured Rising Stars Brewery, their coffee brewery. I thought that was really interesting to see how they roast the coffee and everything. That was fun. What else did I do? Sat outside for a little bit, you know. What's that taco spot in Van Aken? I went over there. It's a Mediterranean spot in Van Aken. That was good. You know, just got outside and enjoy the city, be a regular person.
Can you talk about the city of Cleveland and just it being like home and feeling like a very underrated city?
Yeah.
Not being from here, being from Texas, having in being a bigger city of New York,
Yeah.
down here in Cleveland. What are the aspects of the city that you can enjoy just in your own time?
It's definitely one of those cities you don't understand how good it is until you get here. You know, you just hear Cleveland, you don't think of the best city, you know, let's just be honest. But once you get here, you understand the people are nice, maybe not you guys, but everybody, the people are nice. The people are nice. Good weather in the summer. There's just a good homey vibe about this city.
To the 82 game point, though, you're a big, so it takes a little bit more of a toll on you guys than probably some others. What did this few days off do for you, just physically and just kind of recharging before you get into it?
Yeah, just to sit back, take a deep breath, and just reflect on all 82 that happened, and just rest the body from banging with bigs all year. You know, just to not have to worry about doing knee exercises, have to worry about lifting, just to take a breath.